Hey everyone, in this lecture we'll talk about the Stijl, International, and Early Modernist styles. The Stijl movement began with Dutch artists, sculptors, architects, and designers who began the publication of a magazine called De Stijl. It means the style. It was published in 1917. De Stijl was primarily concerned with concepts of pure abstraction, which had surfaced in Cubist art of the time. Piet Mondrian is one of the most famous De Stijl artists for the abstract paintings using bands of black arranged in rectilinear grids on a white background, with some areas filled in with pure primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. Mondrian primarily did paintings, but his work had a huge influence in design and architecture that used geometric forms in the modern materials of concrete, steel, aluminum, and glass, and avoiding wood. Gerrit Rietvel's Schroeder House in Utrecht, built in 1924, is the most complete realization of the movement's ideas in architecture. The house is a rectilinear block divided up by planes of walls, roof, and projecting decks. On the inside, a system of sliding panels allows the interior openness or closedness to be reconfigured at will. Built-in and movable furniture was also designed by Rietveld in geometric and abstract concepts. Only primary colors and black are used with white and gray tones on most surfaces. Here's another look at the interior, where again, you can see the translation from Piet Mondrian's paintings to three-dimensional architecture. Rietveld also designed pieces of furniture in these same concepts. This is the Z chair, where he used 4 flat wooden rectangles arranged in a Z configuration. He also designed the more complex red-blue chair in 1918, where a cage of black wooden strips with yellow ends support the flat seat and back painted in red and blue. His furniture was actually relatively comfortable, but was designed more with an abstract sculptural intent. Both chairs are still currently in production today. Next, we'll talk about the International style, which undoubtedly took inspiration from the short De Stijl movement. And to do that, we have to start with the Bauhaus. The Bauhaus is an infamous school of design in Germany. After World War I, a man named Walter Gropius became the director of the Schools of Fine Art and Applied Art at Weimar. He merged the two schools under the name Staatliches Bauhaus and developed a new educational program that established a relationship between the emerging modernism in fine arts and the design and craft fields, including architecture, town planning, advertising, exhibition design, stage design, photography, film, and industrial design. This included the study of objects in wood, metal, ceramics, and textiles. The Bauhaus program began with an introductory year of studies in 2- and 3-dimensional abstract design, as well as the study of materials, texture, and color. Gropius recruited an extraordinary faculty of modern artists, including Paul Klee, Vasily Kandinsky, Lionel Feininger, Joseph Albers, Laszlo Moholy-Nagy, and Marcel Breuer. In 1925, economic and political problems closed the Bauhaus at Weimar and relocated to Dessau in a new building designed by Gropius that embodied the ideals of Bauhaus design and plan. Simple and functional, and aesthetics inspired by the De Stijl movement in white, gray, black, and primary color accents. A 4-story block of workshops where students could produce prototypes of their work. Printed materials, woven textiles, furniture, ceramics, lamps, metal objects, stage scenery, and costumes were often taken on by manufacturers to actually produce. A linking part of the building held an auditorium and dining hall as well as studio bedrooms with balconies for advanced students to live full-time within the school. The roofs were flat in accordance with the modern industrial practice. The appearance was extremely functional. Exciting to the new generation of modernists but very shocking to traditionalists. The Bauhaus building and similar modern works were described as the international style. The term reflects the fact that modernism was not different depending on regional location, as styles leading up to this point had been. It was one cohesive aesthetic globally. The Nazi movement had a lot of hostility toward the Bauhaus's avant-garde ideas. Gropius resigned in 1928, Hans Meyer took over, and again in 1930, Mies van der Rohe took over for him. But the school was finally forced to close in 1933, and many students and faculty left Germany as refugees. They found design work and teaching positions, which led to the major spread of Bauhaus ideas, which became central to the wide acceptance of international style and modernism. Gropius moved on to be the head of the Graduate School of Design at Harvard. Mies relocated to be the head of the architectural program at the Illinois Institute of Technology in Chicago. Here are just a few examples of some textile designs from the Bauhaus. They are now a part of the MoMA collection. Marcel Breuer was first a student of the Bauhaus and went on to become a faculty member and independent designer. He is particularly famous for his designs at the Bauhaus, which we're looking at here. Breuer designed the Vasily chair for artist and teacher Vasily Kandinsky's studio bedroom at the Bauhaus. He was inspired by the bicycle and made a chrome-plated tubular steel with canvas or leather straps. The Vasily chair is still in production today by a company called Knoll as part of their studio collection. The Cheska, named for his daughter, was designed in 1925 for Thonet, a name that you should recognize from the Victorian period. It was a radical innovation using a cantilever to replace conventional legs, which had never been done before. It uses chrome-plated tubular steel with stained beechwood arms and a caned seat and back. It came with or without arms. Some versions have leather straps instead of the caned seat, but this chair probably had the most widely copied and is still in production today. You'll see it all over Instagram. Mies van der Rohe was the last director of the Bauhaus. He had established his reputation in Germany and strongly influenced the international style with his tall building designs. His designs used exterior curtain walls made with large horizontal bands of windows, alternating with horizontal bands of concrete at each floor level. His belief in the phrase, "less is more," became the mantra of modernism. Mies won international reputation for his design of the German pavilion at the Barcelona exhibition in 1929. The Barcelona pavilion, as it is known, was made of 8 steel columns supporting a slab roof that stood on a wide platform of marble with 2 reflecting pools. There were no enclosing walls, erasing the visual boundaries between indoors and out, with screen-like walls of glass and marble that were arranged in irregular, abstract patterns, with some walls intersecting and extending into outdoor space. The decoration was simply the colors and textures of the rich materials used for structural elements. A few works of modern sculpture, and simple chairs with ottomans. The Barcelona Pavilion was the first to fully exploit the possibilities of building with modern technology of steel and concrete, allowing interior walls to be optional elements because they no longer had to hold up the roof. This created a free, open plan. The term minimalism is often used for designs like Mies's work, where work is stripped down to its most fundamental features. Here we see the 2-dimensional floor plan of the Barcelona Pavilion, where the use of intersecting planes becomes even more clear. Bringing in a sculptural, organic form, Mies created a focal point using contrast. The form kind of appears to almost be trying to break out of the box of the rectilinear planes. In the minimalist style, the natural patterns of the materials themselves become the decoration. The Barcelona chair and table were designed for the pavilion and are still produced today as part of the Knoll Studio collection. Similar ideas were introduced in Nice's residential designs, like the Tugendhat House of Brno in the Czech Republic. This is the Brno chair. It was designed for that dining room of the house that you just saw, also using a cantilever design like the Cheska that you saw in prior slides. Another cantilever design. The MR chair is also still in production today by Knoll as part of their studio collection. In Mises' later American career, he did a lot of skyscraper apartment buildings in Detroit, Newark, New Jersey, and Chicago, and office buildings in Chicago, Toronto, and New York, oftentimes in collaboration with Philip Johnson. The Seagram building, built from 1954 to 58, on the right is one of the most admired modernist tall buildings in America. On the left is the National Gallery in Berlin, which was Mises' last major work, built in 1962 to 1968. The whole building sits on a raised terrace base. The steel roof is supported by 8 columns at the outer edge. Should sound pretty familiar, much like the Barcelona Pavilion. Set back under the roof, floor-to-ceiling glass walls enclose open space that can be arranged as necessary for exhibitions. There are 2 non-Bauhaus early modernists that we should talk about. The first is Swiss-born Frenchman Charles Jeanneret, later famous as Le Corbusier. He got his start working under Peter Behrens and Joseph Hoffman, who you might actually remember from the Vienna Secessionists. Corbusier's early career was a hint of Art Nouveau and Secessionist mixed with pure modernism, but most notably his geometric aesthetic influence came from the golden mean proportion, much like Renaissance architects. For a while, Le Corbusier gravitated toward painting, influenced by Picasso, Braque, Duchamp, and joined an artist, Amédée Osenfant, in Paris, developing a form of Cubist abstract painting they named Purism. Le Corbusier is most famous for the development of his writings and projects in the 1920s that spoke of his thought that the beauty of modern machinery is the true artistic expression of the modern world. He called this, "A house is a machine for living," similar to the article that you read at the beginning of the course. One of Le Corbusier's best-known works is the Villa Savoy near Paris. This was his machine for living. His interiors are rather colorless and cold, mostly black, white, and chrome. But there are some examples of his work that look more like his paintings, with one wall painted like a bright yellow, blue, pale green, or dark maroon, for contrast to the rest of the white walls. He designed furniture much like this in 1928 and 29 in collaboration with Charlotte Perriand. The furniture included an armchair, adjustable chaise, and a group of upholstered designs where loose cushions are held in a cage structure of chrome-plated steel, all reflecting the concept of the house as a machine for living. These modern classic pieces are still in production today. This is Porte Molitor, shown on the left, built in 1933. It's Corbusier's home in Paris. On the right is Corbusier's Unité de Habitation in Marseille. It was built in 1945. It expresses his ideas about town planning with a new type of housing district made up of a vast apartment complex designed to be a complete neighborhood. The Unité de Habitation includes large buildings with apartments of various sizes, a shopping street high up in the building, and communal facilities such as restaurants, a school, recreational spaces, and a small hotel. Such buildings, spaced apart in a park-like setting, were intended to take the place of crowded and chaotic conditions found in most modern cities. He designed other units at Brère-en-Forêt, Fimmy-Vert, and Nantes-Ray in France and Berlin. Le Corbusier later wrote texts called Modular 1 and Modular 2, expressing his ideas about replacing scales of feet and inches or metric systems with modular dimensions, intended to govern every aspect of design from the smallest details of furniture to the whole building or community. Human dimensions are fundamental, and the concept is related to the golden section proportion. Another architect we need to talk about in early modernism is Alvar Aalto. Alvar Aalto is a Finnish pioneer of modern architecture and design. Aalto's international reputation was established with the design of a large hospital, the Paimo Sanatorium, in 1930 for the treatment of tuberculosis patients. The design of the building itself is meant to help in the healing process. The interior spaces are open, simple, and logical, but details are extremely sensitive. A long 6-story block of patient rooms all faces south to harness the light. A shorter wing has open-air terraces for patients to be able to get outdoors, to experience nature, and breathe some fresh air. It's really one of the first examples of something we call biophilic design. Aalto also designed furniture that has the simplicity of the international style, but the material, molded plywood, has the aesthetic using Finnish birch of something warmer. So he's introducing a color that contributed to this more humane character, typical of his work. Americans were able to see Aalto's design work at the New York World Fair in 1939. Aalto designed the Finnish pavilion with low, free-form walls made of wooden strips leaning out over the main space. His visibility in this fair led to his teaching appointment at MIT. The word Aalto in Finnish means wave. Alvar's iconic vases are aptly named for their flowing form. They are part of a permanent design collection of the New York Museum of Modern Art and are still in production today for Knoll's International Collection.